Hola! In this video, I'm going to show you how to make Guava Atole or Atole de Guayaba. Hi, I'm Silvia Martinez from Mamá Latina Tips. Welcome to my kitchen. Atoles are a delicious corn-based beverage that is very popular in Mexico. And this Guava Atole is one of the most popular of the flavors for this beverage. The recipe is very simple and it has a few ingredients that I will be giving you as we use it on the video, but you will also find the complete list in the video description as well. You will need 3/4 of a pound of fresh guavas. Depending on the size, that could be 3 or 4 large ones or 5 or 6 small ones. We are going to wash them, then cut off the little black crown on top and quarter them. Now, put them in a medium pot and add 1 small cinnamon stick and 2 ounces or 50 grams of brown sugar. If you don't have brown sugar, you can use white sugar or piloncillo. Add 1 cup of water and stir a little with a spoon. Now let's put the pot on the stove on high heat. Keep stirring until all the sugar has dissolved in the water. Cover and bring to a boil. Once it's boiling, we will lower the temperature and let it simmer until the guavas get super soft. This is going to take about 15 minutes. I recommend covering the pot to keep the water in so the guavas don't stick to the bottom, but also they will cook faster. And this is how they look when they are tender. See, they have changed color. They are a bit darker and a syrup has formed with the sugar. Let it cool for about 5 minutes and then we will remove the cinnamon sticks. Some people leave them in and blend them, but cinnamon has a delicious but very strong flavor, and guava has more a delicate flavor, so we don't want the cinnamon to overpower the guava. I like to remove most of the pieces and leave just 1 or 2 small bits. Of course, this is personal preference. If you want to leave it for a much stronger cinnamon flavor, go ahead. I just recommend starting with half the stick, okay? Now transfer everything to a blender and blend until it forms a puree, which we are going to strain back into the same pot where we cook the guavas. You'll notice when you start straining that there are a lot of seeds because obviously the blender doesn't grind all the seeds, they're very hard. So we will press like this to get as much through as possible. Then with a spoon, we'll keep stirring to extract all the pulp that's left from the seeds. And if you notice that there is a bunch stuck to the strainer, do this over the pot to get all the puree out. Every time that we mix something acidic with milk, in this case the guava is acidic, it's almost sure that the milk is gonna curdle. So there are certain things that you can do to avoid this. And in this recipe, we're going to use baking soda, which is gonna neutralize a little bit that acidity. And when we combine it with the milk, we're gonna get that very silky texture, which is what we want. Here is how I use it. Now we'll add half a teaspoon of baking soda and heat the puree again over low heat. And we'll start stirring and stirring and stirring until all the baking soda dissolves. What's going to happen is it will start forming like a foam in the puree. And we will keep stirring until you see the foam stops growing. This will take less than a minute. Now we are going to add 3 cups of cold milk without stopping our stirring, so all the milk and puree integrate well. And you'll see if you do this way, with that baking soda we already added to the puree, we have lowered the acidity. So when you're stirring, you'll see it won't curdle. Now, if I change, it does curdle. The trick I learned from my mom is to return everything to the blender and blend again. It's like magic. Everything integrates again and you get this smooth, silky texture back. While we wait for the milk to warm up, and please don't take your eyes off it because it heats up really fast. We're going to dissolve 4 tablespoons of cornstarch in half a cup of water. Make sure everything mixes really well and it has to be cold water. If you don't use cold water, it won't dissolve. Just before the milk starts boiling, let's give the cornstarch and water another stir because it usually settles if it sits for too long. So it is important to stir it well. And we will add it to the hot milk that is almost about to boil. Then we'll lower the temperature. What we want is a gentle simmer because that's what's going to give it that thick consistency we want in the atole. The more you heat and stir it, the thicker it will get. And as I said before, don't take your eyes off of it. Because see how the milk starts rising in the pot? So it's very likely that if you look away, it will boil over. And as we stir, we cool the milk a bit, and you will see how it will go back to normal level. Another reason that it's important to keep stirring is to prevent sticking on the bottom of the pot. Any atole you make will start forming a thicker layer on the bottom, and we don't want that to stay there and burn. So it is important to keep stirring and stirring to prevent this from happening. When the atole has reached the consistency you like, let's taste it for sugar. This is personal. I gave you a base amount of sugar, and from there you decide if you want it sweeter or if that sugar level is good. And that's it. It's ready. Look, this is the consistency I like for atole. It's a little thick, but liquid at the same time. Also, when atole cools, it tends to get much thicker. And once you put it in the refrigerator, it's even thicker. So I like to leave it a little liquid like this to give it a chance to thicken a bit more. Notice here how the texture looks super smooth, no curdled milk or anything, and it's really to enjoy. Pour it in your mug, and if you want, you can sprinkle some ground cinnamon on top and a small slice of fresh guava. This atole is ideal to drink with your tamales, the spicier the better, but also by itself in the mornings with toast bread, with a concha, with a warm bolillo, or telera. It is also delicious. And sometimes even as a dessert after your meal. A hot atole on these cold days is just the best thing in the world, especially if it is guava, because it's so aromatic and delicious. Didn't I tell you that this was a very easy recipe? I hope you make it at home. And if you do, come and tell me how it turned out. I really hope you give it a try. Here are more recipes and cooking tips for you. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.